Hello and welcome to Unit 10, well, I should say Lesson 10. Now, in this particular lesson, what we're doing is we're going to be using a lot of different things with sound, and we're going to be working with video. Now, once again, I have to remind you the fact that both the sound and the video elements were already previously created in order for us to utilize it within our animation that's already been set up. If you notice, you've got some items that you can harken back to our last section. So you've got some actions on there. I'm pointing at my screen, which does nothing because you can't see my finger. There we go, right? So I've got some actions and I've got some labels going on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert the sounds. So what we're going to learn this time is we're going to import sound files. We're going to learn how to import sound files. We're going to edit sound files. We're going to try to prepare a video, include a video, embed video as a guide to animation, and we're going to customize some options. So this looks kind of cool, and it's going to kind of put some items on your I don't know, the topping on your animation cake before we move on to our next section. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my sound file. I'm going to go to my sounds file, and I'm going to import the monkey.wave to my actual library. So I do a file, right? And I want to do an import, and I want to choose to import to library, and I navigate to include sound, right? So I can actually, can I hear it? I want to, can I play it? I'm going to play it. Okay. Sound properties, right, so this allows me to see it. I wonder if I can play it. Oh, I'm being attacked by a monkey. Right? If you can hear that, I hope you'd hear that. Anyway, so let's continue. Alright, so you can see that I've gone a little crazy on importing my sounds. I'm also a little odd this morning, so that's okay. So if I take a look, I've actually brought in the African beat, right? So if I can play it, I don't know if you can hear it, right? Ooh, okay, and then there's the Afro-Latin, and the Elefante, and the lion, because, you know, lions, people don't like lions. You know why? Because they're never telling the truth. They're lying. Right. Can't believe I said that. Anyway, so you've got all the elements in there, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a folder right here, and I'm going to organize it. I'm just going to call it sounds for now, right? And then I'm going to organize my library because you'll notice in it there's lots of stuff, right? So I'm going to grab my monkey, and I'm going to move monkey down, and the lions, and the elefante, and the Afro-Latin beat, and the African beat, and I think that's all my elements there. Okay, let's continue. Now what I've done is I've created a sounds layer, and in that sounds layer, I've just gone to my Afro-Latin beat, because that's what they told me to do, and I grabbed a hold of the Afro-Latin beat, and I left-click and held, I drag it up, and I put it on my stage right here. As soon as I put it on my stage, making sure that the sounds layer is selected, it actually adds it to my sounds layer right here, and I actually see the waveform appear. Alright, so at the point in time when I've inserted the Afro-Latin beat, I then actually click on frame number 1, right, to frame number 1. You'll notice that in my properties panel, now the Afro-Latin beat appears. After I choose the Afro-Latin beat, I want to make sure that it stays in reference to event. Now the idea, when the event sync option is selected, the sound plays as soon as the playhead enters a keyframe. That sound is in. And then if we choose control and then test, right now I am listening to the Afro-Latin beat as it plays across my animation. That's amazing! Now, I did recently find out that you can't actually hear the sounds play on the video, but that's perfectly fine because we're still walking through the technology where that's concerned. Now, being a distinguished Afro-Latin beat connoisseur, and because I want to show you how to edit the sounds, what we're going to do is we're going to actually edit the Afro-Latin beat so it's less Latin-y, less Afro-Latin-y, beaty, I don't know. Anyway, so I want to choose my keyframe 1, right, my keyframe 1, and then the properties of the Afro-Latin beat will appear, and you'll notice right here where it says effect, none, but I have this little edit sound envelope, right? So here's my sound envelope that's actually showing the waveform, and I can modify it from here. Now, as I look at this, I have my effects that are listed right here. I have a down drop list of effects, which I'm not going to mess with at this point in time. I have my left channel, meaning what I can hear out of the left side, and my right channel, meaning what I can hear out of the right side. And then the overall form, like the size of this, is my volume level. Very interesting. Let's modify some things. Alright, so what's going on? As we stand right now, when we started our animation, the sound played for the entire time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten the waveform. So let me explain how we looked at what we're seeing right here, right? So what I did is I went down to this frames and I clicked this, so all the frames of the particular item is shown. If I zoom all the way out, it is about 240, 250 frames. If you don't have this frame clicked originally, or if you say none, what's going to happen is it only showed me when I started about 50. So basically when we start, we have to see this entire 240 frames. Mine did not have that. Yeah, that's the way mine looked right there. So I guess maybe I had the seconds. But so I'm going to choose frames so I can see all the frames. What I want to do is I'm going to shorten that waveform. Now the way to shorten that waveform, now you might have to zoom out using the zoom out button here. But a way to shorten that waveform is if I take my mouse pointer right here, you'll notice it turns into the double pointed arrow. At the point in time it turns to the double pointed arrow, I can left click and hold on that, and I'm actually dragging this back to 50, right? So what's going on is it's going to play this, but it's only going to play a certain part of it, like a snippet, right? So if I don't want the sound to play the entire time, I want to push OK to accept the sounds that I've created, right? So now when I go ahead and I do my, let's see, and then I do a control, and I'm going to choose a test. It only starts a little bit. It only plays over 50 of the keyframes in this particular slide, so it doesn't last the entire time of the animation. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the sound a little bit. So I choose the Afro-Latin beat, I choose my edit, and then, hold on just one. Okay, as you see, I've gone back into the sound right here. I've clicked on keyframe number 1, and then I checked on the edit envelope, the sound envelope, and then what I've done is I've chosen to show the sound, and when I choose the sound it's going to modify the way it appears. So I have keyframes, so here's all my keyframe, and sound, and here's all my sound. Now once I have the sound actually displayed, if you click in, let's say, the left one, oh, that is not what I wanted, right? If I click in that, it's going to place one of these boxes here. This allows me to change or modify the sound. So what I can do is I can modify, including the volume. So, right? So here's kind of the volume profile. So now as I play it, it starts out loud and then slowly kind of decreases. So if I really wanted that to decrease over time, from the very beginning, I could do something like that. Now, what's interesting is in the left, like this is my left input or my left volume, I can clearly hear that decreasing, but I can't hear that in the right. So what I can do is I can come along, make some modifications a little bit here. Right, there we go. All right, and kind of do this bad boy rahal. Now it's across my my speakers, so I have a pretty good mirrored effect between the two, right? All right. Well, that takes care of some of our various editing as we've included in this particular sound, which is our Afro-American beat or Afro-Latin. Now, what I can also do, if I wish, is I can come along here and I can actually, sorry about that. I can come along and I can actually choose a different sound, so it'll still have the same profile, but a different sound itself. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add sounds to buttons. As promised, it's button, who's got the button? We're going to be inserting a sound into the sound button. So for those of you that don't recall, I'm on scene 1 right now. And then what I did was I went into my library panel, and then I went down to where it says sound button 1. I double-clicked on sound button 1. Boop, boop, right? You don't have to make that noise, okay? But you'll notice that I'm modifying sound button 1. See, it says sound 1 here, right? Then what I do is I insert a layer. I'm going to call it sounds, right? So I renamed it to call it sounds. And then I click on the down section. Once I click on the down section, I then come over to find my monkey wave. When I move my monkey wave, I put it over here, and it's going to insert it in the down section. Then what I do, boop, I click right here. I choose properties, and then I'm going to choose start. So let me go through that again less quickly. So I'm on scene 1, right? I made sure to look at my library. And I choose sound button 1. So I'm going to double click on sound button 1. Then what I do is I insert a layer. I rename it sounds. And then I go over to the down section, right? So I make sure I've selected down. Then I go over to the monkey.wave, and I grab monkey wave, and I grab him, and I put him over here. That's going to insert the monkey sound based off when the button is pushed in the down position. Then what I'm going to do is I go to the properties right here, and then I'm looking for, and I'm going to choose my start. Oh, wow. What did it do? There we go. Notice it was the wrong property to start with. I choose monkey.wave. I hit my down drop arrow, and then I choose start. Amazing! Okay, so now what I've done is I selected button 2, right? So I selected button 2. And button 2, I've included the sound of lion. So I've inserted the sound. On my down, I grab lion. I choose lion over here. On my down, I made sure to do properties, lion.wave, and start, right? And then I come along here, and I'm going to choose my my library, and then I'm going to choose sound button 3, and I'm going to do the same thing to sound button 3, except this time I'm going to choose the elephant. All right, well, that concludes our sound portion. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on working on including our video portion. So look for part 2, and we shall continue.